In Jacksonville, Florida, high school administrators are investigating the posting of 2 signs over water coolers. One said colored, the other whites only. In Colorado, an African-American mother reports her 12-year-old daughter was told, "Now that Trump is president, I'm going to shoot you and all the blacks I can find." There were flashes of hate during the campaign, signs of trouble, and now that Donald Trump has won, some of his followers have taken hate to the next level. The Southern Poverty Law Center tracking more than 300 hate incidents, almost all immigrant, black, and gay victims, with less than 10%, that's just 20, against Trump supporters. 300 in less than a week is 3 times higher than the average week. In Meriden, Connecticut, these 2 men arrested for assaulting a man waving a sign in support of Donald Trump. The University of Pennsylvania investigating a text thread overrun with images depicting lynchings and harsh racial language. Nadia Browning was one of the targets.
I opened the chat and there were a lot of derogatory name-calling and just really hurtful things.
President-elect Donald Trump intends to deport millions of criminals who are in this country as illegal immigrants. And when it comes to implementing his plan, he could face some stiff resistance from political leaders and police chiefs of various cities that provide sanctuary to illegal immigrants. Even before Mr. Trump takes office, leaders of sanctuary cities vow they will continue to provide safe havens for illegal immigrants, meaning they will not face deportation.
To be clear about what Chicago is, it always will be a sanctuary city.
In Los Angeles, where millions of immigrants are living in the city illegally, Police Chief Charlie Beck says officers will maintain its long-standing policy on federal immigration, which has been in place since 1979. He says, "We are not going to engage in law enforcement activities solely based on somebody's immigration status." And in San Francisco plans to maintain its sanctuary status as well, despite the tragic killing of Kate Steinle, gunned down as she walked with her father in the city's famous pier. The accused killer, an illegal immigrant and convicted felon, had been deported 5 times before.
A police officer in Michigan is suspended after he displayed a Confederate flag at a political rally while off duty. Traverse City officer Michael Peters drove a pickup truck decorated with the flag to a Love Trump's Hate rally, then parked and drank a beer. Word eventually got back to the police chief, who announced the suspension while the matter is being investigated.
No justice, no peace.
A dramatic scene today at this high school in Nebraska, where hundreds of students walked out to protest President-elect Donald Trump. As tonight, schools across the country grapple with how to reassure students and parents in the midst of tension seemingly triggered by the outcome of the election.
Scared, confused, betrayed, disconnected from the very vision of this country.
In this video, teachers recount emotional talks with students as racist videos and graffiti have popped up on campuses. Like this cell phone video at a Michigan middle school cafeteria. This school in Pennsylvania, chants of white power.
White power!
In an interview with the Wall Street Journal today, when asked if he thought his rhetoric had gone too far in the campaign, Trump responded, "No, I won." This cell phone video captures a Trump supporter in high school in Woodside, California, being attacked by another student.
She said, "You support Trump, you hate Mexicans."
And at the prestigious University of Pennsylvania, university officials say an investigation is now underway into how a group of black freshmen were added to a racist group account that included racially offensive content, such as posting images of lynchings.
Many Hillary Clinton supporters are still holding out hope that there will be a Madam President. A Change.org petition is looking to faithless electors in the Electoral College to essentially take the victory from Donald Trump and give it to Clinton. The Electoral College will gather across the U.S. on December 19th to certify Trump as president. Many Clinton supporters are counting on these electors to ignore their state's votes and cast their ballots for the Democratic nominee. The petition states, quote, "Mr. Trump is unfit to serve." It goes on, "Secretary Clinton won the popular vote and should be president." It's calling for 1.5 million signatures and has already exceeded that number. But faithless electors are very rare. In the history of the Electoral College, only 82 have made the choice to change their vote.
British Sharia courts are now under scrutiny after they were accused of discriminating against women. 90% of the Sharia courts handled divorce cases resolving family conflicts within the Muslim community. Now, a report from Agency France Presse says those Islamic courts have refused to grant religious divorces to women who are victims of domestic abuse. And an open letter from more than 200 national and international women's organizations is calling to ban the system altogether. One spokeswoman said the courts are linked to the rise of the Islamist movement. It was reported that efforts to put a stop to the movement have already had somewhat of an effect.
The Oregon public official who levied a $135,000 fine against a Christian-owned bakery lost his bid to become Oregon's Secretary of State. Since 2008, Brad Avakian has been the commissioner of the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries. He ruled Sweet Cakes by Melissa must pay the fine after the bakery refused to provide a wedding cake for a lesbian couple. The owners said it would violate their Christian beliefs. In the Oregon Secretary of State race, Avakian lost to former state representative Dennis Richardson. The Daily Caller reports that Richardson will become the first Republican in 14 years to win a statewide office in Oregon.
A West Virginia official who posted a racist message about First Lady Michelle Obama has now been fired from her job. Pamela Ramsey Taylor was a director for the Clay County Development Corporation, and she wrote this online after Donald Trump was elected, and I quote, "It will be refreshing to have a classy, beautiful, dignified First Lady in the White House. I'm tired of seeing an ape in heels," end quote. Now, the town's mayor then responded, and I quote, "Just made my day, Pam," end quote. The post was shared hundreds of times on social media before it was then deleted. It should be noted the mayor is still at her post.
From the White House to 10 Downing Street, that's the move some wishful Brits hope President Obama will make in January. Twitter in Britain exploded Wednesday after President Obama's post-election speech, with people calling for him to rule across the pond. There are already thousands of tweets. Many said that the UK is ready to take him if the US is done with him. Others asked if it's even possible. Unfortunately for them, the Obamas plan on staying in Washington after the president's term is up.
Young liberals, gripped by delusions, fueled by a propagandized media, are basically demonstrating that they are essentially children.
What if this, all of this, is a simulation? I mean, it's a crazy idea, but what if it is? And if there are multiple simulations, how come we have to be in the one where Donald Trump becomes the Republican nominee for president?
The New York Post reports the University of Michigan offered its traumatized students coloring books and Play-Doh to calm them. The University of Kansas reminded its stressed-out kids that therapy dogs, a regular campus feature, were available. Cornell University, an Ivy League school, had a campus-wide cry-in, with officials handing out tissues and hot chocolate. Tufts University offered its devastated students arts and crafts sessions at campuses from elite Yale to Connecticut to Iowa and beyond. Professors canceled classes and/or exams either because students asked or because instructors were too distraught to teach. And now the globalists are making idle threats based on the blanket of fear stitched together by misinformed liberals and the mockingbird media.
I congratulate the newly elected President of the United States, Donald Trump. This is for sure a difficult moment in the relationship between the United Nations, the United States, and the European Union.
Und Amerikaner haben entschieden, dass diese Verantwortung in den nächsten 4 Jahren Donald Trump tragen soll. Deutschland und Amerika sind durch Werte verbunden. Demokratie, Freiheit, den Respekt vor dem Recht und der Würde des Menschen, unabhängig von Herkunft, Hautfarbe, Religion, Geschlecht, sexueller Orientierung oder politischer Einstellung.
We trade about $600 billion a year. So every year you have trade flows totaling $600 billion across the border with China and the US. And so if that if that flow ever gets interrupted, a lot of people are going to be out of jobs.
On Mr. Trump and what he would do, he's going to work with everyone. And you say how can you bridge the rift? I think, Chris, that we ought to realize that where we may disagree politically and ideologically, people have far more in common in this country than they may realize when they're in the heat of the political battle.
And I'd also like to congratulate Mr. Donald Trump with his victory in these elections.
Но Россия готова и хочет восстановления полноформатных отношений с Соединенными Штатами.
But Russia is ready and wants to restore the full-fledged relations with the United States.
I congratulate Donald Trump on being elected as the next President of the United States. Britain and the United States are and will remain strong and close partners on trade, security and defence. We have a long-standing and enduring special relationship which is built on our shared values of freedom, of democracy and enterprise. And I look forward to working with President-elect Trump to ensure that we can maintain the security and prosperity of our two nations in the future.
David Rothkopf, your reaction to what the British Prime Minister said?
I think it was a fairly predictable reaction. These reactions after an election tend to be anodyne. As it happens, she's kind of a political cousin of Trump's. You know, she is a kind of xenophobic, a right-of-center politician who's gotten into office talking about getting out of Europe and attacking refugees.
Donald Trump is the president-elect, whether liberals like it or not. He will enter the Oval Office to preside over a country that was deeply divided by community organizer Barack Obama, not Donald Trump. Trump will roll his sleeves up to rebuild the infrastructure of the American economy destroyed by Bill Clinton, George Bush, and President Obama, not Donald Trump. Trump will be faced with a mass migration of displaced refugees fleeing the war-torn countries thrown into chaos by Obama and Hillary Clinton, not Donald Trump. To the liberals still clinging to their security blankets out there, give your new president a chance to improve even your ungrateful life.